does your SSD get slower the fuller it gets? You'd think that as long as you have space left, performance would stay the same, but that's not how it works at all. Here's something most people don't realize. If you fill your SSD to around 90% capacity, your entire system can slow down dramatically. We're talking about everything from boot times to loading programs to just saving files. And the reason why comes down to a fundamental limitation of how SSDs actually work. See, SSDs can't overwrite data. I know that sounds wrong, but it's true. They store data in small chunks called pages, typically a few kilobytes each. But here's the catch. They can only erase data in much larger chunks called blocks. A single block usually contains hundreds of pages. Think of it like having a notebook where you can write on individual lines, but you can only erase entire pages at a time. That's exactly what your SSD has to do every time you modify or save a file. When your drive is mostly empty, this isn't a problem. You want to save something? There are plenty of blank pages sitting there ready to use. But when your drive is nearly full, there are no blank pages left. So every time you save something, even a tiny file, the SSD has to go through this whole process. Find a block with old data, copy out anything that's still needed, erase the entire block, write your new data. This process is called garbage collection, and it absolutely kills your performance. And here's the thing that makes this even worse. Your computer is constantly writing data in the background. Temporary files, system logs, cache updates, swap files. Modern operating systems can write gigabytes of data per day just sitting idle. All of that is triggering garbage collection on a full drive, making everything slower. There's another issue too, called write amplification. When you update a small file on a nearly full drive, the SSD might have to move around dozens or even hundreds of times more data internally just to make room for your change. You're writing a few kilobytes, but the drive is physically writing megabytes behind the scenes. And this doesn't just slow things down, it also wears out your drive faster. SSDs have a limited lifespan measured in how much data they can write. More internal writes means shorter lifespan. Now, SSD manufacturers know about this problem. That's why they actually hide some of your drive's capacity from you. Your drive might physically have more storage than what Windows shows you, with that extra space reserved for the drive's internal housekeeping. But when you fill up the space you can see, you're eating into that buffer. The drive now has less room to work with, and performance drops off a cliff. So what should you do? Most experts recommend keeping at least 10 to 20% of your SSD free at all times. Some even say 25% for optimal performance. A drive that's nearly full can be several times slower than the same drive with adequate free space. So if your computer has been feeling sluggish lately, check how full your drive is. You might not be out of space. You might just be too close to running out. And to your SSD, that's practically the same thing.